Today is a red letter day in the long history of the Rotary Club of Erie. Today we recognize our late friend and fellow Rotarian James Sherman Stolley with the 2012 Four-Way Test Recognition Award, the Rotary Club of Erie's highest honor. Over the many years that our club has honored one of its own with this most prestigious award, today marks the first occasion it is being bestowed posthumously. Jim Stolley is the most worthy recipient, having lived Rotary's four-way test, there it is, in his business life as well as in all of his personal interactions. Jim's active participation in all things Rotary has been well documented. His 44 years of Rotary service included multiple Paul Harris Fellow levels and his many years of chairing the district-wide Student Exchange Committee was a true labor of love, which found Jim and his dear Maggie opening their hearts in their home numerous times to Rotary Exchange students from around the world. Thanks again, Maggie. Accepting the 2012 Four-Way Test Recognition Award on behalf of Jim is the tag team of Stolley's daughter Karen and twin brother Dick. Dr. Karen Stolley grew up in Mill Creek on the corner of Wolf and Asbury, and following her graduation from McDowell High School, she was a Rotary Club exchange student in Argentina, a life-changing experience about which she's spoken to us on two occasions. Once, immediately following her return home in 1973, and again in December 2010, when she was invited back to give a talk, Hola, Gauchos, a Rotarian daughter returns again. She received her BA in Spanish and French from Middlebury College and her PhD in Spanish from Yale University. She taught at Vassar College before accepting her current position at Emory University, where she is incoming chair of the Department of Spanish and Portuguese and teaches graduate and undergraduate courses on Latin American literature and culture. She's delighted to announce to her Erie friends that her second book, Domesticating Empire, Enlightenment in Spanish America, is finally finished and forthcoming with Vanderbilt University Press. Her dad would have been delighted.
Your dad would have been relieved.
I take that back. Her brother would have been relieved. He was the great nudger over at least a couple of years that I was aware of.
That's why I had to mention it, really.
Okay, never mind. Okay. Karen lives in Atlanta with her husband David Littlefield and younger daughter Elizabeth, a senior in high school. Older daughter Kathleen is an actress in New York City. Richard B. Stolley is senior editorial advisor at Time Incorporated, where he has been a correspondent, bureau chief, editor of 2 magazines, and editorial director of all Time Incorporated magazines over a period of 59 years. Dick was editor of the Monthly Life when it won 2 National Magazine Awards, and founding editor of People, which has become the most successful magazine in publishing history. He continues to write for all the company's magazines. He served on the Weekly Life for 19 years as bureau chief in Atlanta, Los Angeles, Washington, and Paris. From Los Angeles, he covered the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and obtained for the magazine the famous Zapruder film on the murder. He has been a frequent visitor to Erie over these many years to visit Jim, and at Jim's invitation in the clubs has spoken to us on 2 different occasions about his journalistic experience. Dick joins us today from Santa Fe. Presenting the 2012 Four-Way Test Recognition Award, please welcome past president and the 2002 Four-Way Test Award recipient, Bill Bloomstein, who chaired this year's selection committee. Bill, Karen, and Dick.
What does one do other than to say thank you? Thank you to a wonderful, wonderful family for loaning Jim to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're just going to speak briefly because we know there's an exciting main event. But I do want to say on behalf of my mother and my siblings, Beth and Jim, that I am deeply, deeply honored and grateful to accept this award. Dad would have been thrilled and honored too. In a life chock full of good work and good works and good friends, Rotary was at the center. And I imagine that he's got a front row seat somewhere for this wonderful occasion. I do especially want to thank Mark Lewis and Brady Lewis for their shepherding of this recognition. Dad exemplified Rotary's four-way test, as do earlier recipients of this award, many of whom are here today, including Brady. In the months since Dad passed away, we've been reminded of how rich and broad his circle of friends, acquaintances, and colleagues was. It cut across generations, and it encompassed people from all walks of life and all around the world, joined in service to others. And the glue that held it together was Dad's respect for the dignity of all and his incredible enjoyment and appreciation for what each of us brings to the table and to the conversation. Dad's impeccable sense of integrity and his high ethical standards were a touchstone for us all in the Stolley household growing up, and they continue to guide us every day. We continue to learn from Dad's example as we face our own challenges and opportunities. We miss him terribly, but we also feel his presence. Thank you again so much for honoring him today.
When I saw that Karen had written out her speech, double-crossing me, I have to say, I was going to stand up here and simply say, ditto. But since Jim and your club invited me to come here to speak to you twice, I thought I should expound on this a little. I have to say my visits here, my trips to Rotary were fascinating. Jim always thanked me and said, good job, with measured enthusiasm, I have to say. He liked particularly the title of one of them, which you may remember, was Presidents Who Have Known Me. He liked that one. The four qualities epitomized Jim. I've known him longer than anybody in the room, and I saw him develop those four virtues very early on, and they were brought to full development in Erie. The amount of work he did outside of Hammermill for various institutions in this city is really quite staggering. I've written a story about our twinship, and while I was writing the story, every now and then a fact would elude me, or I would want to straighten something out, and my first impulse would be, I've got to call Jim. It gives you some idea of the reliance that I had on him, and quite frankly continue to have. The description on this plaque says, his opinions are marked by fairness. Usually. Jim and I disagreed about a few things, but we had a lifetime together of love, fairness to each other, of devotion to our families, and I could not be more delighted and humbled by the award that you're giving my twin brother today. Thank you very much.
You know, the very first Rotarian that I can remember meeting many years ago was Jim Stolley. I interviewed for the Rotary Foreign Exchange Program. didn't get out of Erie, but I didn't get to a foreign country, but I can remember interviewing in his office and being impressed by his gentlemanness and sincerity, and just what a nice man he was. I still remember that sitting in his office, that's a couple years ago now. So, and today the whole process, starting with Mark's speech on the four-way test and the award and the great remarks today, is just very beautiful thing. So thank you very much for your remarks. And now.